Hello, Raider Nation. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast host, as well as your beat writer for Sports Illustrated covering the Las Vegas Raiders here in Minneapolis. Obviously, what you see behind me is a picture I took of the field because there's no way to get it with the field in background. But I'm sitting here in the press box. The field's directly in front of me. In fact, if you hear noise, I think they must have let like season ticket holders, kids come play on the field or do something. A lot of people down there playing. I just walked out of the locker room after visiting with AP, Daniel Carlson, AJ Cole, Gardner Minshew, um, Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and DJ Turner. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today. I thought there was some unnecessary panic in Raider Nation, and you certainly have the right. I'm not telling you what you can and can't do, but I want to put a lot of it in perspective. Obviously, you want to win every game. That's the Raiders' motto, just win, baby. But they end up losing 24-23. But I have said this throughout the 5 years that I've been here, including when they've won preseason games. I don't put any stock in it. I put no stock in preseason scores. Win, loss, doesn't matter. Um, for a variety of reasons, of which I'm going to express to you today. But I think if you're a Raider fan and you keep preseason in perspective, if you're rational, you have to be very pleased with today. I have shared with you for 5 years, good football teams find a way to win games when they're not playing well. So I'm going to tell you this. I believe it was really two games today. The first half, where the Raiders ones and twos went against the ones and twos of the Vikings, and the Raider ones on defense, nowhere near even a quarter, let alone um, the whole first half. And then the second half. So I want to first start by talking about Aiden O'Connell got the start. Now that surprised me a little bit because in camp they've been rotating every other. And the last day of practice in Costa Mesa, Gardner had gotten this. I mean, Aiden had gotten the start, so I thought they would go with Gardner. Was told yesterday that that was up in the air, but there was nothing to report because they didn't know. And then I reported it before the game that I had heard that. So that's number one. Um, Aiden O'Connell. So the plan was, and I had told you this last week because AP had told me that they were going to play one quarterback the first quarter, one quarterback the second. There was a lot of people saying after, when Aiden comes in and plays one possession and then Gardner has several, I think he had five. I think he had five, but it was nothing to do with Aiden. It literally was that was the plan. Had it been reciprocated, or had Aiden had five possessions and Gardner only had one, it wouldn't have looked any different than what it did. Gardner marches down the field. Aiden marches down the field first drive, and they gets him inside the red zone. He looked tremendous, in my opinion. I thought both quarterbacks looked exceptionally good today. But he gets in there, and then Andrus Pete gets blown up on, and he gets sacked, takes him out of field goal range, and out of touchdown area, and they would have went for it on fourth down. AP did tell me that. And so they kicked a field goal. Now, I need to say something real quick, and I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm doing it, because I tweeted when the play first happened that Thayer Mumford got blown up. Now, I have a tremendous relationship with Thayer. I've known him a long time. And as soon as I saw the replay, I corrected the tweet. You say, why is that a big deal? Because it's being accountable to you. I screwed up. And Andrus's Pete looked like a 77, and sometimes they do flip Thayer over there. I made a quick observation. My observation is wrong. And when it is, I'm man enough to look you in the eye and tell you I was wrong, corrected it. And in case you're wondering, I told Thayer I did it. He laughed. He goes, I appreciate you correcting it. And he laughed and smacked me on the shoulder. But it was Andrus Pete. But that first drive. So let's talk about Aiden's numbers real quick. Again, he only got one drive, and I'm trying to find it here. Please give me a second. I got a lot of notes here in front of me to go over with you. Aiden was not 7 of 9 for 76 yards. He was sacked once. That was the 10-yard sack that he got, and had a QB rating of 102. Well, 1019. I always raise up or down, depending, obviously, round up or round down. 102. I thought everything they asked Aiden to do, he did it. His passes were crisp. He led the team down the field. He looked good. He protected the football. Great. So then we turn to Gardner. Now let's just talk about Gardner for a minute. He was 6 of 12, only 50% with the ball, but 117 yards, no sacks, one TD, and he had 112 yards. Now, he faced the twos of Minnesota. Doesn't matter. Ones or twos, they're all guys that are going to make the team. I'm not minimizing what Gardner did at all. I thought Gardner was really, really good. He had, again, he had 2 touchdowns and a field goal, and Aiden had a field goal. I believe would have had a touchdown, but both quarterbacks looked good. I certainly can tell you that I could see where people would make an argument that Gardner moved ahead, but because of the way it was structured, one was going to get a quarter, one was going to get 2. I think at this point it would be fair to say that Gardner probably has a lead based upon how he did today. But it's the decision's not made in the least bit. But I thought Gardner had a great day. I thought his throws were really good. He had, in my opinion, one bad throw, but every quarterback's going to have a bad throw. I'm not saying that being critical because I thought he was very good. I thought today the Raiders saw, okay, you got 2 good quarterbacks that can lead this football team. Let's get to the next that I think is obviously a very important point. Trey Tucker had a really good day. Now, let me tell you, I have made it abundantly clear since he got here. I think Trey Tucker is a difference-making wide receiver. I think he has the potential to be down the road an elite wide receiver with his speed. I've told you all off season, we're not seeing any drops. He was doing great. Then we got to camp, started to see some drops. Now, I love the kid. I think he's extremely talented. I hold him at a very high level. And I was honest with you in camp when I thought there were some drops. He was sensational today. He was not good. He was sensational. His blocks down the field were excellent. His hands were excellent. I am rooting for Trey Tucker. He's very much impossible not to root for. He is a wonderful young man, and he's very talented. And I was glad to see the Trey Tucker we saw all through OTAs and mini camp, the first couple of days of training camp. I was good to see him back today and performing, at a very, very high level. I think when you look at the Raiders, Devontae, who obviously isn't here, his wife had the baby, but you look at Devontae, and then you look at Trey Tucker, and you look at DJ Turner, and the guy who's been the best Raider, Jacoby Myers. They are so set at wide receiver and so deep. It's just disgusting in a very good way. Let's talk about receptions, though, today. Jacoby had 3 for 45 yards. He looked exceptional. Trey Tucker, 4 targets, 2 catches. I thought he looked great. Brock Bowers, they wanted to get him involved early, and they did. And I thought Brock Bowers was exceptional as well. He ran some really good routes. He had one block where he just literally just hit a guy and took him right up his cleats out of the ground. There's an old saying in football, you got to keep your cleats in the ground. Brock Bowers looked like a dude. He looked like the guy we thought he was. DJ Turner, 2 catches, targeted twice. He looked phenomenal and had a touchdown. He was special today. It was really, really good to see him. So Michael Mayer with a catch. So again, that was great. Now let's talk about the rushing side of the football. Sincere McCormick, who I've told you, I believe in this kid, but he hasn't done much. And what did he do today? He did well. He was the leading rusher, 11 attempts for 32 yards, but it's a 2.9 average, and he was going against 3s and 4s. This is where Sincere needed to shine. Is, hey, I know I'm going against a bunch of guys that aren't going to make their team, but give me some reps earlier. I was disappointed for him, not disappointed in him. He's a tremendous young man and he's talented, but I was disappointed in that a little bit. And again, remember, there's going to be players today I'm not even going to mention disappointment in because I have no expectation. And I think that's important for you to understand. I'm not picking on Sincere. I think he's a very good player. I think he belongs in the NFL, but when those lights are on, he's got to make a bigger, better show. Let's talk about Zeus. Um, just a big, powerful man. And I was really glad to see them bring him back in and get some reps in the red zone. It was just, I thought he was good, limited, but good, and only limited because there's nothing really for him to prove right now. Another guy that I thought, was interesting, Alexander Madison. Thought he did some things good. I did. I thought he did some things good. Let's just real quick talk about the offense. I think it's important for you to remember there's a lot coming with this Luke Getsy offense that you're not aware of. And I'm not saying, look at Hondo. He's so smart. You don't know. No, but as a professional media member and a professional football member of the Pro Football Writers Association, I have access to all of camp. And so there are things coming that we've seen that we don't talk about. And it's not because I don't want to tell you. It's because, first of all, preseason, everything's vanilla. But I thought this offense looked really good today. Talking about in the first half against good players. This is a good Minnesota defense. And there still was a lot. There were a couple of situations where I know Luke Getsy did not call what he would have called in the regular season. And that was encouraging to me. That was super, super encouraging with me. I also thought it was important to do in the first half. And again, tales of two half. I'll get to the second half later. There were no penalties in the first half. They were disciplined. I thought that was very, very good. They got contributions in the first half from offense, defense, special teams. Jack Jones with a big interception. You saw the big plays on special teams. All of that. Very, very good day. So if I had to say who had a better day, obviously Gardner Minshew, because he got more reps. And he didn't get more reps because Aiden failed. He got more reps because that's how it was scripted. But not taking anything away from Gardner. Looked good. There were a couple of drives that stalled where I think maybe he hurt himself a little bit. But guess what? If Aiden had played more, that would have happened because this is the National Football League. So I thought it was great. Now, I had a bunch of people contact me and telling me, about allegedly beat writers saying that Anthony Brown was going to compete. I can tell you this. Nobody saying that has been at camp that I know of. And anyone saying that should be disqualified from being any type of a voice of authority because anybody that's been at camp knew Anthony Brown was not competing. I told you going into camp, he wasn't in the competition. However, when those guys struggled, he had to shine and say, hey, I'm here. And I told you in camp, he didn't do that. There were a lot of bad days for Gardner and Aiden, and Anthony didn't shine when he should have. I don't know where that's coming from. Now, granted, I'm not reading everything the other beat writers are putting out there, but I know them, and I don't know where that came from. I want to settle that real quick. Anthony Brown, and I've reported it several times, was never in the mix this camp to unseat either one of them, ever at any point. I thought Anthony Brown was going against 3 and 4s was what we've seen from Anthony Brown this camp. He's not done anything to delineate and say, hey, look at me. Good kid, very athletic player. I think he can play in this league. But I think sometimes he's a little bit too much of a gunslinger, a little too much reliant on his athleticism. Remember, I've told you before, what makes Patrick Mahomes great is he's incredibly athletic. But his go-to isn't his athleticism. He's a quarterback first that happens to be an athlete. I'm telling you, Someone said to me one time, man, it sounds like you just love Patrick Mahomes. Well, I have great respect for great players. He stays in the pocket till the last second and takes off. Anthony Brown will take off and move prematurely and move a little bit. So again, there you go. Tale of two halves. I'm going to address a couple other things. I thought it was really interesting in the first half. The Raiders defense gave up some yards. Now, remember, a lot of their guys were not in there for very long. And because it was not necessary for them to be in there very long. They may have played and got a rep, but weren't in there long. What I thought was really cool is even though they gave up, I believe it was north of 250 yards. I think it was 279. That's what somebody told me. I have not verified that. So if it's wrong, I'm not lying. The fact that they still only gave up one touchdown, I thought that was a very big deal. I thought it was a tremendous big deal. And, there were some bend, but not break. And I've said to you before, great teams find a way to win when they're not playing their best. This defense was not playing their best today, but still kept them to one touchdown in the first half, which is when the Raiders, the majority of the Raider team, top players were playing. I think that's a plus. You may say, Hondo, you're just looking for blue sky. Well, I don't think that's the case. I just don't live my life in the world of negativity. I try to be completely fair. I saw a lot of consternation in the second half from people. But there was one point I put a tweet out. Remember, a lot of these guys you're watching right now are not even going to make the 53-man roster. And when I said that, there was a play that I looked, and I don't remember now if it was, I think it was 9 of those players that were on the field aren't even going to make this team. And so I was like, okay. Now, I'll give you an example. I thought Trey Taylor had a good day, the rookie safety. But there was a particular play where he looked bad. But if you had seen the play, and I don't know what you get to see on television, a guy he was on the field with, who's not going to make the team, had made a mistake. So Trey's trying to help, and he was trying to help at a position that wasn't even his. So people are like, "Oh, look at what Trey." Now, relax. It wasn't Trey. It was, he went over there, and his other guy had made such a mistake that just the way it worked out was made Trey look bad, but it wasn't Trey. There was a play in the first half where a defensive tackle, it looked like the defensive tackle's fault for a big run. And I checked on this, and it was a linebacker that went in a different direction. That's why sometimes you got to understand plays in context. I've told you before about quarterbacks who throw a ball somewhere. This happened to Aiden O'Connell a couple times in the Chargers game last year at the Chargers. Josh McDaniel's system, he has to throw to a place. He throws and nobody's there. Oh, this kid sucks. Get him out. He's throwing to phantom wide receivers. No, he was supposed to throw to a spot. And I don't like that type of timing offense. I hate it. Thank God the Raiders don't do that anymore. Tyree Wilson. I wanted to see more explosion from him today. I told you the other day he had played well. I thought he was coming along in camp. I still do think he's coming along. Remember, the Raiders' plan was that last year was a redshirt. This is his first year of being healthy. So I think some people need to give the kid a break. This is his first year in the pros being healthy. Yep, he needs to get more of an explosive first step. No argument. Not pretending that, and that's why I've been telling you all along. He's not Max, and he's not Malcolm, but he's still a very good, talented player. He's just essentially, in my book, a rook. And I want to see more from him because to whom much is given, much is expected. And he's got all the physical tools. But one thing I can tell you about Tyree Wilson is that young man has drive and work ethic and want to. So did I want to see more? Absolutely. Was I disappointed in him? No, because I have different levels of expectation based on where a player's playing. I got to tell you, a kid that's had a really good camp, and I think, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think he's going to make this team. Jaden Grant. He's playing super well. When you look at this Raiders, I mean, they got Merrigan Epps, IPM, Isaiah Palomal, who is, you know, playing unbelievable. Jaden Grant. So that's your ones and your twos. Then you come in, you got Trey Taylor and Chris Smith. That's a very good safety room. And that's two very good players, super good players in Epps and Merrick, two really good players that are super young in the backups, IPM and Jaden Grant. And then you turn around and the third guy, then your third string is Trey Taylor, and who's playing very well, rookie, but playing very well, and Chris Smith. So I think that's very, very solid. I think another guy that it's very important to talk about was Nesta Jade Silvera. I don't know what you get to see on film. I mean, on the television. And I say that because sometimes people just don't get to see it, and that's not your fault. He motor tonight. His motor ran hot. It ran hot. And there's a commercial coming in hot, or maybe that's a song on a reel. I don't remember, but I heard it a lot. And he did. He brought some heat. Now he's going to have to work on his technique, but he's a second year guy. But I thought Nesta showed some stuff tonight, and I was very, very impressed. All right, I want to flip the page here. I got some things I want to get with you on. Trayvon Merrick led the team with tackles. He had 6. I thought that was tremendously well by him. Jaden Grant had 4. And again, I thought both those guys played good. So it was a solid day. A lot of guy plays. I'm going to tell you another guy I thought played really well. And he's a guy that has had a good camp, nothing spectacular and nothing bad. It was just played well. But he's a guy that this was the first game where I saw some all camp where he stood out, Divine Diablo. And it isn't like he played for, 60 reps, but I saw some things, and that was really good to see from him. Again, he's had a very solid camp, nothing spectacular, but nothing bad either. I thought it was a good day for him. So let's talk about the tale of two halves. Certainly you want your team to win. That's the object, and you're the Raiders. Your motto is just win, baby. But when you look at that second half in context, I think you can say, yeah, sucks you lost. I would have liked to have seen some of those, because some of those guys that were playing in the second half are going to get a bad rap by Raider fans because the play was so bad. And I understand that, but it's just like that one Trey Taylor play where another guy makes a mistake and Trey gets punished for it. That's just the name of the game. It's just the reality. And so there's nothing really that you can do about it. But I thought it was important to point out. So I think you go back to Vegas and you're feeling great. Your offense gets an opportunity to go against a different defense, and they shined. Your defense goes against a different offense, took a punch to the face, but kept them to 7 points. No harm. That's fine. So I thought, again, was it the best I've seen this Raiders defense? No. Was it bad? Are you kidding me? No. I think there's a lot to walk away from this very happy with. I think if you're AP, you're super excited. You got a lot of tape here that you can correct with, a lot of tape that's going to make people better, a lot of tape to go to some guys and say, listen, y'all got to do a little bit more. This just can't be the Max and Christian Wilkins show. You got to show us some more stuff. And I think he has a lot of young players that played in the second half that he's going to be able to go to and say, you're trying to make a ball club. And when the guys around you aren't playing well, you have to stay disciplined in what you do. That's really, really important. So I think there's a lot of good that can come out of this, obviously. And I'm stating the obvious. I know this. You want to win. But the way it was broken down, I think if you're a Raider fan, you've got to be really pleased. I can tell you AP, and I've put the video up, you can go look at it, but was not angry in the least bit. I don't think there was one piece of anger on his part. I want to talk about AJ Cole and Daniel Carlson. I have been talking for a long time that these are the two best at their position, and they were phenomenal today. I want to give one little caveat, wink, 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 hint to Raider Nation. Don't think the way you think kickoffs are going now is the way they're going to go in the regular season. There's a good chance the Raiders may have a few things up their sleeve that they're just not going to show in the first half. So I wouldn't be worried about kickoffs. You can be if you want. I'm telling you, I am not in the least bit worried. I want to see what happens in the first game before I get worried. But I thought it was fine. There was a couple of things that stood out to me though about Daniel and AJ is watching when AJ Cole gets up to punt, the entire team watches. Now I've been doing this a long time. I've been to 3 goat ropings and a county fair, and I ain't never seen that before. When a punter gets up to punt and everybody stands and watches. That's a pretty big deal. And I even asked AJ about it. I already put the video up about how cool is that when your teammates are standing up because you're putting on a show. And he's very humble, but I think that's special. Just a couple more things I observed and I want to talk about. I thought Thayer Mumford played great, other than the 35 seconds I thought he screwed up. I thought he was really, really good. Thought Andre James was very good. Dylan Parham was very, very good. I thought DJ Glaze, for being a rookie in first game, there was some mistakes, no doubt. I'm not pretending there wasn't, but a rookie in his first game, I was happy with DJ's performance. There was a lot of tape there, and there's a lot to correct. So I thought, I thought, again, I have a different level of expectation based upon the player. Bowers looked to be absolutely bingo. Let's go. He looked great. I want to talk about Gardner and Aiden because I don't think you would see this on the field. I mean, on the TV broadcast. So Aiden starts the game, marches the team down, gets in the red zone, gets sacked, but they still get the field goal. And I cracked up because Gardner acted like a cheerleader. I mean, you could have given him a pair of pom-poms. He didn't look like a Raiderhead, but it was so cool to see his genuine excitement. Then you flipped it around, and every time Gardner scored, it's the same thing with Aiden. I asked them both about it. Make sure you watch the video. And again, I've never seen and I've watched a lot of quarterback battles, a lot of them. And I had never seen it like that ever. I had never seen that type of they're very close. They just love each other. Do they want the job? Absolutely. Are they competing? Yes. Does Aiden want to beat Gardner? Oh, yeah. Does Gardner want to beat Aiden? You know it. But yet they're able to set aside that ego because it's their friend. And they literally see it as I'm competing against myself, not my friend. That's very rare. And I think they deserve a lot more credit. I mentioned it, I think it was yesterday's podcast, but I think they deserve a lot more credit maybe than people are getting them. I know quarterbacks, I've seen it, I've covered it, who almost try to split the team. So, boy, if more players want me, it'll push coach. None of that. They are both saying, I've got to do more to put on tape to make it clear it's me. But when I'm not out there, that's my guy. And I'm going to tell you that's really rare. And I think if you're a Raider, and this is why I love covering the Raiders for what I believe is the most intelligent fan base in the NFL, that should make you proud. That's the Raiders I used to watch on TV as a kid, growing up in the cornfields of Langsburg, Michigan, and then the last part of my, childhood in the Christmas trees of Cadillac, Michigan. That's special. That's very rare. And to see that to me says a lot. It says an absolute lot. So for whatever that's worth, I think that's important. I want to again talk about one last thing because I think this is a good one. I've told you all camp how impressed I was with the teaching. And if you're going to be at Allegiant Stadium this year, or when you're watching games, if they show sneak peeks of the sidelines, I was watching closely to see what was it going to be like in a game because all preseason they're teaching a ton on the field. I was stunned. I mean, you'll see a coach walk over and grab a board or grab a I don't know what they call them. It's not a laptop, but the kids have them. Well, I don't know, a notebook, but it's not a notebook like a piece of paper and pen. It's like a computer notebook, and they'll diagram stuff on there. But this coaching staff, they were humping today. Now they were teaching, and then you saw veterans teaching. And I asked AP about it, and not about the staff, but about the team. And he talked about how cool it was to see everybody standing up, everybody engaged, everybody watching. This is special. Now I'm going to tell you, I don't think this is a Super Bowl team at all. I think their ceiling is 10 wins, but they're building something really special. You can see it in the players, you can see it in the coaches, and you can see it in the coaches and players and the way they interact with each other. It's really special. So the Raiders lose. And if this were a regular season game, there is no silver lining unless it's a team that's just better than you. But 24-23, they come out here to Minnesota and get the big win. I mean, get the big performance from their offense that they were looking for. I think there's a lot of reasons for Raider Nation to be happy. And obviously, we'll be back practicing this week in Vegas, back to the heat. Oh, now let me just give you a quick update here. The Raiders will not have practice tomorrow or Monday, but back practicing on Tuesday. I am going to have a podcast that I don't think you're going to want to miss. Yeah, they have Sunday and Monday. I'm going to have a big podcast on Monday. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I think you're going to like it. I'm going to have some information for you after film's been watched, after things have been looked at. I think you're going to get some more information about your team. You got to give some time for guys to look at film and check everything out. But listen, greatly appreciate you taking time. I know it's a Saturday evening wherever you are in the country. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate all of you. We'll be back and see you at our next podcast. God bless you, everybody. Have a great, safe rest of your weekend.